Hi, this is my second lesson on utilizing digital storytelling. So first of all, what is digital storytelling? Let's watch this quick 2-minute video to find out.
Storytelling. What is digital storytelling? How to express ourselves by stories. Does modern technology give a good support? The digital storytelling course will help you to produce the stories more interactively. How does it work? It's a form of storytelling using a variety of multimedia tools, including tools as photography, slides, soundtrack, your voice, subtitles, a short video. Digital storytelling is a result of combining different media elements into a coherent story. Presentations are short but attractive. They stimulate the senses and imagination and are suitable for different learning styles.
Okay, so digital stories are a multimedia combination of narration, text, a video playing within the video, being presented as a video, images. There's a bunch of different ways you could go with digital storytelling. So for this next lesson, is taking place So for this next lesson, it is taking place within a business course where students have to learn around 200 legal terminology concepts. Okay? Students will look into their terms and create a digital story on how either terms relate to each other or what a concept of one term is, and present it as a digital story. Alright, so for the final project of this legal terminology business course, students are asked to create a digital story based off of a legal term of their choosing. Students will have 14 weeks out of a 16-week total course to research and develop a digital story. Each term may only be presented by one student, and all projects are due the second to last week of the course. During the last week of the course, students will review each other's digital stories and leave constructive and encouraging comments on each one. So with the digital stories, they're really great because students will accomplish critical thinking skills because they'll have to decipher different parts of a digital story, and they'll have to create and connect new ideas with previous knowledge that they have, as well as how to effectively use multimedia tools, which they will inevitably have to use for the rest of their lives. And also, by developing their own digital story, they'll be forced to let go of their inhibitions and surround themselves with content and ideas that will be told in their story. And instead of just writing down a story or writing out definitions and terms with pencil and paper, with digital stories, students are able to take the terms and create this world around them on how people interact with them, and it's just a very engaging experience. Throughout developing a digital story, students also gain knowledge of the 7 elements of digital storytelling. And if you meet all 7 of these elements, that means you've created an effective and engaging and an ultimately perfectly stimulating digital story. And what these elements include is an overall purpose of the story, a narrator's point of view, a dramatic question, a choice of content, clarity of voice, pacing of the narrative, use of a meaningful audio soundtrack, quality of the images, video, and other multimedia elements included, an economy of the story detail, and finally, good grammar and language use. So for creating a digital story, instructors and students need to have access to a computer with the internet access for researching and finding images, finding videos, audio, narration, or even uploading your own narration. There are multiple programs and sites available for students and teachers to utilize to create their digital stories. And some of these are iMovie, which is only available on Apple's operating system, Movie Maker, which is for the Windows operating system. The Creative Commons site has images for free use that students can use and not have to worry about copyright infringement. Adobe Photoshop is also a good way for students if they're technology smart. If they're technology smart, they can go on and create their own photos, or if they even have their own stash of photos that relate to their term, then they can upload those as well. There's Audacity, which is an audio recording application, or they could try another audio recording software, or maybe even the recording program like Movie Maker or iMovie can record their voice or narration over the story. And finally, you can upload all digital stories to YouTube, which they can be shared endlessly from there on. Prior knowledge for the digital stories, they don't really have to have any prior knowledge of the legal term they've chosen because they'll really learn about it with this assessment. But students should have basic computer skills before they create their own digital story. Teachers should be familiar with digital storytelling, its effectiveness, how it can enhance a course, and why use it. They should also be familiar with the multiple programs and sites that are available for creating digital stories in case students have questions that they can't find answers to online, or to give tips to students. All right, so for this lesson on digital storytelling, students will first choose a term in the first week of the course. They will choose a legal term that interests them and that they think they could create a meaningful teaching tool from. The terms are presented to students in a Google Doc, and each term may only be chosen by one student. So no duplicates or partners, no group work, it's all individual. The next step is to introduce the students to digital storytelling. So students first need to understand the importance of digital stories and the effect they can have on others. They are not only telling a story, but they could be telling someone else's story, or a story that will have a measurable impact on others. Once they understand this concept, they will be able to really create some moving and meaningful digital stories. The instructor will either hold a video conference, depending on student availability, or develop interactive lessons on our LMS Moodle for students to complete individually. The third step is to research. Students have 7 weeks to complete research of their topic and to write a script for their digital story. During week 7, students will turn in the script that they've created for their digital story, and the instructor will edit and revise it and work with the student to enhance it a little more if needed. But before it's turned in, the development of the script is the most crucial part of the process, as the motivation and content is what drives the digital story. Students will develop a script for their digital story that is engaging to the reader or viewer, meaningful, and gets the definition and use of the legal term across. Once the instructor has turned back the digital story scripts to the students, this is when they create their digital story. Students have the remaining 7 weeks, due week 14, to develop their digital story. This can be completed using the technologies the instructor suggests to students, or they can use a program they are already familiar with. Students will use images and audio to record their stories. Next is the final step, feedback and sharing. At the end of week 14, students will turn in their digital stories through a URL linked to YouTube or another video site if needed through the course LMS, which is Moodle. In addition, students will add an embedded video of their digital story into a new slide in a Google Slides presentation provided by the instructor. The last 2 weeks of the course, students will watch each other's digital stories and provide constructive, encouraging feedback in the form of comments within the Google Slides presentation. So here are some examples of digital stories. We'll just watch a minute or two of each one just so you can see how effective and engaging these can be for either elementary age students about crayons or about high school or higher ed students with the Ninth Amendment.
The Day the Crayons Quit by Drew Daywalt. One day in class, Duncan went to take out his crayons and found a stack of letters with his name on them.
Hey Duncan, it's me, Red Crayon. We need to talk. You make me work harder than any of your other crayons. All year long, I wear myself out coloring fire engines, apples, strawberries, and everything else that's red. I even work on holidays. I have to color all the Santas at Christmas and all the hearts on Valentine's Day. I need a rest. Your overworked friend, Red Crayon.
Hey Duncan, alright listen. I love that I'm your favorite crayon for grapes, dragons, and wizard hats. But it makes me crazy that so much of my gorgeous color goes outside the lines. If you don't start
really engaging for younger students as they have this great imagination where something could be alive that isn't really alive. And so I think this would really bring out their creativity to create their own digital stories or to learn from. The Ninth Amendment is one of the most overlooked and underrated amendments in the Bill of Rights. If you ask someone to name an amendment, they would be most likely to say the First Amendment, maybe the Second Amendment, and possibly the Fifth Amendment. The ironic part is that 9 of the amendments in the Bill of Rights do not directly affect almost every single part of your everyday life. However, the Ninth Amendment does just that. When our founding fathers decided to include a Bill of Rights into the United States Constitution, it was because the Anti-Federalists were in objection. See with this digital story, there was some audio at the beginning, then there was some narration, and the images are correlating to what is being said. The advantages are numerous and beneficial to everyone involved in the process of digital storytelling. Teachers benefit from the opportunity to teach with meaningful, engaging, innovative technology. Not only are students learning from images, audio, and sound, but they are becoming involved in the learning process through critical thinking skills that they are building while listening and watching, as well as thinking during the digital story. Digitally, the possibilities are endless to transfer digital stories to other teachers, subject areas, and different schools. Digital stories are universal and thus are a great addition to any classroom. So overall, it is really interesting to see what others are doing with innovative technology in their own classrooms. Infographics and digital storytelling are great as instructional and assessment tools. They're extremely powerful, they're engaging, they're effective, they're great for teaching and learning. I also saw that one article that I researched interviewed a teacher who said her students had light bulb moments as they worked through creating and interpreting infographics. A light bulb moment is when a student is working hard to try to understand something and finally they get it. And that's what she means by a light bulb moment. The light bulb turned on and she just understood the information through using infographics. And that moment is actually why the majority of people become a teacher. And the fact that this innovative technology can bring that moment out of students is tremendous. And it just shows why educators should utilize and incorporate innovative technologies as much as they can into their lesson plans.